Sketchcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience and supported by listeners like you. Please be sure to leave a review on iTunes, like and share our Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All links can be found at sketchcraft.com. That's Sketchcraft, C-R-A-F-T, the name of the podcast.com. Remember, every little bit counts and it all helps to grow the show. Thanks. Welcome to Sketchcraft, the podcast for art, games, and process junkies. I'm Rob Duenas, full-time illustrator and graphic artist elsewhere. This is an unedited podcast, which will probably contain strong language, so listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody, Rob D here. If you're just tuning in to Sketchcraft for the very first time, you should know that we have 47 other episodes you could be listening to. Like right now, you could just go to iTunes. But you've chosen this one, so congratulations. You should know that we typically rant about art, movie, and geek-related news stuff chosen by either us or you, the audience. I'm not laughing at that idea. Sometimes you actually choose something. But joining us today is Arizona's own Brandon James from Lead Heavy, L-E-A-D Heavy.com. Freelance graphic artist. Go ahead and say hi, Brandon.
Hello.
Hello. And as well as Andy Bond, creator of the indie comic The Elvatron Chronicles, and Arizona's own resident gamer. Say hi, Andy.
Heyo.
Heyo. You want to do the hey now?
Hey now.
Hey now. All right. Good time. So let's just go down. I got a few things I want to say real quick, and we can go right down the list of various things to talk about. So everyone knows we just launched Power Prince 3 on the Kickstarter today. So for 14 days, we'll be running this, and that's it for a while. So be sure to check it out. I got a direct link. You know, we do canvas prints. I got some custom stuff going on there, nice print package deals. A lot of people say, Rob, I don't have a lot of shelf on my art wall for prints. And I say, get yourself an art portfolio and start making your own art books. Art looks better, bigger. You can flip a piece in and out, change the art on your wall. I don't care if it's fucking my art or Brandon's art or anyone else's art. Put art on your wall, not those fucking bullshit paintings you can buy at Target for $2. So, that being said, it's been an interesting month. Been working my ass off. I don't know if anyone's noticed. It's been driving me pretty up the wall. But cool news. I got the internet, high-speed internet's worked out. Everything's working great. I got the HD videos. Now I can paint directly in real time, dragged into the Google Hangouts. So I did the entire Okami background, right? Live into Photoshop, and built brushes too, live, showed how I make all the brushes. I just recorded 2 quick videos today, how to set up your files for printing and how to set up your oversized art files, which it's technically a part 2. You'd want to do the first part first, and then you can do the oversize. Very simple. First one's 11 minutes long. Second one's 6 minutes. These are very simple questions. I get tons of these very simple topics I get tons of questions on, and I always see people mess up. So I just want to be able to put that stuff out there for everyone. So be sure to check out the YouTube channel. I've been writing daily, 2 to 3 hours every day. Got my damn notebook here right now, and as well as it's all typed in. And then for Game Cave, and just been working out. Guys, if you can believe it, I actually have the next year's worth of art planned out.
Jeez.
Yeah. So very. Brandon asked me a question the other day, and it's been on my mind since. He's like, "Do you ever think about how, like, Brandon? What did you say exactly? Like, you're asking me about how I'm like a one guy."
Oh, you are a one-man studio, man. When it comes to that, I mean, do you ever stop and think, wow, I just did everything a studio can do? I mean, you're like one of those guys you see on the street with like a tambourine on his head, drums between his legs, a guitar in his hands.
But I like to think I don't look that annoying. You know what I mean? Like a lot of those are like, hey, look at me, you know. I thought about this a lot because I don't, but I think it's because I've been doing it for so long now, you know, that this is the first time I'm just getting the credit. You know what I mean? For doing it. I did it everywhere I went. When I ran Kinko's, for my father, I ran the company almost by myself, aside from the bookstore stuff he was doing. When I was at Kinko's, I would run that the whole thing at night by myself. I mean, I'd be printing hundreds of oversized prints a night, doing banners, setting up all sorts of stuff, going to school full time, freelancing. And then when I went to in 2007, I ran that T-shirt studio almost by myself for a year. And then when I went to gameplay, not on my own, but then when I went to GameFan, I did everything by myself. So I really thought about that, like no, I don't. But yeah, it is kind of nuts, right? I suppose if I thought about it too much, Brandon, I'd cave in and cry, you know?
Right.
Like, oh, I have to draw and paint and color and graphic and write and but it's also what keeps me interested in the whole game, in a way. Like I guess I'm not interested in the guy who just pencils,
Right.
so that's just my thing. So yeah, that was actually on my mind. Like, I don't think too much about me, I also
Right.
find that sometimes, you ever notice this? You ever make something and then you spend too much time staring at it afterward?
I try not to, but
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. So like I mean, at some point you need to have a moment of reflection. Um, I don't know when that'll be for me, but right now I'm just not in a position to stare at my stuff too long. Okay, let's move on. So Brandon, really quick, you had a story about a guy on the internet.
Swiping your art. Oh man, it was so good. So I happened to type in, I don't know, Deadpool on Instagram or one of those things, and all of a sudden I see your art, but drawn with like really shitty markers, like the watercolor art, the saucy
The saucy stuff.
Right. So he couldn't mimic the watercolors bleeding down, so he would just take darker markers and go up and down with the lines. And I started looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that's one of Rob's, two of Rob's, three, and then all of a sudden I see 20 pieces of your art on there, and he's like, yeah, I can't wait to show it off at the Comic Expo. And people are like, oh man, can I get an original Beast? I'm like, yeah, only if Rob's done one. I'm like, oh, this looks really good. I have the original Iron Man on my wall. Just called him out on it. Andy called him out on it.
I got granitoed, right?
Yeah. And then eventually the guy just, I don't know, deleted his Instagram because I can't find it. He'll probably start another one, but just another art thief. But it really made me laugh seeing someone trying to copy your stuff, but not mentally knowing how to do it. So they just, scribbled markers up and down to try to make the lines. It was just bad.
Well, like I told you, man, I found myself. I figured that's when you've made it, right? When people are just janking everything you do, So that's a good sign. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, look, I always say this when it comes to people thieving your stuff. The internet right now is pretty good at policing it. Like you found it, I would,
Right.
So I let the internet take care of itself, pretty much. It's when major companies do, I tend to like, oh, really? Like you guys love to say shit about us drawing fan art, but I know, like I said, I know companies that steal shit all day long. I can go right now to an art department. I can go to 3 different art departments within a 40-mile radius and show you a bunch of DeviantArt on the wall as their pitch for projects that then they go and turn into projects,
Right.
So, and if it isn't DeviantArt, it came off page 2 on Slashfilm or any one of these aggregate blog sites,
Yeah.
So the trend setting is coming from the internet. At the end of the day, it's not coming from pop culture. Can you believe it? So whatever. It's a funny thing, dude. It's a funny thing. But yeah, granitoed. Good times. Good times.
You're big in the Eastern market, it looked like.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell where it's coming from, but it didn't look U.S.
Yeah, it wasn't in the States.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I love the foreign markets. So.
You're all over the place.
Whatever, dude. That's good times, man. That was good. It soothed the artist's ego to hear, Like, I was like, yeah, that's cool. They're janking my shit. I don't know, guys. So let's just jump over. Andy, pick whatever one you want to talk about first.
We'll do the daily sketches and sketchbooks.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. So most people always say you have to draw every day, and I'm sure you would say the same thing, and you do. But like I was just thinking the other day, because Brandon's always working on his sketchbooks, and I'm working on my book. So we're both doing the same thing every day, but doing different whatever. Is it taking away from Brandon to only doing the sketchbooks when he could be working on a project? And is it taking away from me learning new skills working in a book as opposed to a sketchbook? So, like, I mean, there's good and bad for both, but I was curious to see what you guys thought.
Let's start with this, right? Like, what do you define as a sketchbook? I believe there's 2 versions of this. One, there's a book in which you sketch and work out ideas or just express yourself creatively. And then there is this art book, I put on quotes, that we like to call sketchbook, where you're drawing really nifty drawings and collecting them in pencil or ink or whatever form and then saying that's a sketchbook and I got 20 copies coming down the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's more like a presentation / art book.
Well, in this case, it'd be like more like what Brandon does, like his daily sketches.
The first one.
Yeah.
Right. So a place where you just sit down and creatively work out stuff and maybe develop, I don't know, warm-ups, or you want to work on lighting. I believe it's essential to do that. You need to have a place where you are creating things no one sees. You're not trying to show off. You're not trying to maybe even draw well. You're really kind of like going back to either basics or working on something that will improve your foundation. The problem I find most artists have when they hit artist slump or they hit limits in their ability is usually comes down to a foundational issue. Even with myself, when I want to improve my coloring, I go back to very, very key lighting, you know?
Okay.
And this could be just taking boxes, putting them on colored dark paper and with white pencil, painting in light sources, you know? And it's very important to have a place to do that that's free from, oh, I'm showing off all the time. You know what I mean? Or I'm sharing everything. Like, I don't know about you guys, but as an artist, I do find myself to be an introvert, as greatly exposed as I am on the internet.
Right.
And art books and real sketchbooks, they're dev time. It's a place for you to try 6 different ways to draw Wolverine before you settle which way you want to draw Wolverine, or if you want to draw your lead character, or if you just want to, work on something. And I also believe that, their art in the United States is taught weird. It's taught I believe art in the United States or the Western Hemisphere is not taught as a profession. It's taught as an expression. You go into, say, a high school art class, and you're immediately like looking at something and redrawing it, or closing your eyes, listening to music and drawing what comes to your mind. And
Whatever you feel.
you're trying to recreate what you see or feel immediately and define yourself. And to me, that's way too fast. Like it's really great in terms of producing a result that people can look and say, "Oh wow, you must have gotten better." The reality is it's sort of illusionary. It's like making a music video and then thinking you can go and direct Lord of the Rings. That's why music video directors never do well, or they always do poorly in reviews for the longest time, right? People go, they look great, but it's a music video, like
Right.
it's 2 hours long. It looks great, but they don't understand story structures, storytelling, because in a music video it's loose. You got the words filling the music, and then there's stuff happening. It's good enough. So that's why like these television guys are directing Marvel movies, not music video directors. You notice that a lot of guys in the Marvel movies are television people now,
Yeah.
right? Like the Community guys are directing Captain America. The Game of Thrones dude did Thor. I imagine we're going to see a lot more of this because in television, storytelling is king, right? And the budgets are getting bigger to do special effects, like for Doctor Who or Game of Thrones, but the storytelling is still primarily the focus because it's a narrative, right? So to me, television's kind of the same thing. You go there, you work on this storytelling aspect, you take all those skills, you ramp it up into a 2-hour big budget presentation. That's your comic book. You catch my drift?
Right. Okay.
And in order for your comic book to improve, you have to have this other thing. If drawing more pages of comics is just going to make you better, I can show you Rob Liefeld as an example of that not being true. Like, you can be famous, I mean, it depends on what you define as better and how you want to improve as an artist. But if you really want to become a better illustrator, a better storyteller, that's going to occur, over here, and then you take that and work it back into your main stuff. Do you understand what I mean?
Right.
So does that help at all?
Yeah, definitely. You're saying something that's rarely said in any art industry here, because if you go to the shows, it's, well, work in your sketchbook or do your own book, but
or produce a lot of pages. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you why, because the industry is based around a work for hire mentality. Okay, so what that means is it's based around you producing a lot of volume for someone. They don't care if it's good or not. It's just good enough for them to print and make money off of. You see what I mean?
Right. Okay.
They're not really too concerned with you getting better because it's a serial pulp format and they just want a lot of it. So that's where the zeitgeist comes from, whether they're aware of that or not. And then a lot of people, again, just haven't been taught correctly. I'll tell you where my Zen-like fucking experience comes from. Is I grew up going to Comic-Con, and I don't know why, I latched onto a man named Dave Sim. Have you ever heard that guy?
No.
Dave
Nope.
Sim created a comic called Cerebus.
Oh yeah.
Little gray aardvark. He was in Spawn issue 10. If you ever
Right.
picked that issue up. He was also in the Turtles, which I picked up on. And Dave Sim sort of like in the 70s started this indie comic that was black and white that he drew and wrote. like a spoof of Conan called Cerebus, and he did it consistently for like 300 issues straight. And sometimes it's not even a comic book. Sometimes it's a poetry album with fucking crazy ornate. I mean, he did win everywhere you could go with the comic, you know. And if you really look at the first 10 or 12 issues of Spawn, it's like a mainstream version of Cerebus mixed with Spider-Man and Batman, like right down to the lettering. That's why if you ever look, the first dozen issues of Spawn don't look anything like the stuff that came before it, you know. And if you
Right.
go read Cerebus, you'll see where the influence was. But Dave Sim had a lot of crazy. He's kind of a weird dude, but I really resonate with his belief at the time, which was indie market and the way art's taught and the way people build stuff. And he did say, you know, you don't get good to your first 1,000 pages, but you know what I mean, like 1,000 pages. You know, like getting good in a comic will only get you so far. You know,
Right.
he got better as an illustrator, and then he did everything he could as an independent creator to facilitate that dream. So I believe in the indie spirit, but I also believe in artists wanting to improve. You know. And I do believe that the internet it sort of rewards. Look at what I did today. I'm a genius. And you see guys like who draw really well, and I think also too as artists, we always believe someone's better than us. You know. So
Right.
you'll see someone do something, you go, oh, he's so much better. Oh, I suck. You know, and that's just an emotional reaction. You know.
See, I do that. I do it different. Like, I'll see it and I'm like, oh crap, that's awesome. How do I do that? And then I'll start to like monitor or study their work.
Then
And,
you should have a place where you can go and practice that you're
Yeah.
not feeling like the pressure to share with anybody. You know what I mean?
right.
And
do you
I
think
would.
do you think an artist should worry about posting stuff to be judged, or just post it anyways? Like if I feel like maybe I do a sketch and it looks like shit, should I post it anyways, or should I hold back because of fear of someone seeing that and thinking that's the total representation?
I don't know about
of my
holding back for fear, but I mean, no one wants to live in fear. If
Right.
you're worried that someone's going to be negative about what you say, then I think, or what you've drawn, a lot of times that's an internal projection of how you feel. The question is, what are you trying to achieve? Anytime someone has a question, I always try to figure, what are you trying to achieve with this particular thing? If you're just trying to get better, sharing it's not necessary unless you just want to share in the process.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter what anyone says. You could take it as confirmation of the things you say and do. You know, you
Yeah.
could take it as whatever you'd like. But I try to figure out what is the intention behind what you're trying to do, and then the appropriate response to achieving that intention is sort of the way I problem solve my way out of a million answers to a question. You know.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I have an art teacher like you, Rob?
I am the response to not having an art. Like I had maybe a few instructors, and they were usually typical. They were really good. The one I can think of maybe 2 or 3 people who were really good, but they were so good they were impatient and annoyed with anyone who didn't get it. And I find myself some days I slip more into that. Brandon's experienced some of it. I'm like, just fucking draw, you know? like some days,
Can I tell everybody what you called me the other day?
I didn't call you. I stated that you drew at my 8th grade level, or sometimes worse, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I meant that, and I can prove it with my 8th grade drawings. And
Yeah,
this
he
doesn't
did.
mean that you suck, like you can never, you're 15 years away. What it really means is a lot of times as artists, a lot of times I feel like we get excited about art. At some point you find something that inspires you and you want to achieve, you want to try it, right? And at some point that either becomes a place where you realize, okay, now I want to learn I want to do it, I want to reverse engineer, or sometimes you just get back to like drawing as much as you want. But at some point, these people want to become a professional, or they want to have a career, correct?
Right.
So what kind of career do you want to have? If you want to have your own career where you're drawing Order of the Stick or indie, Jimenez Brothers books, you can draw however you'd like to draw. Robert Crumb, you know what I mean? However you like to draw, welcome to do it. You go out there, you do what you want, you collect the money or whatever, the fandom that you build off that indie spirit. If you want to work in an industry for a Dark Horse, Image, Marvel, DC, Zenoscope, whatever, there is a standard, To achieve that standard, you have to have at least a core set of principles or foundational issues that, Brandon, you sometimes have and don't have,
Right.
And where I get frustrated is when people say, how can I get better? And I'll say, do this, do that. They'll do it 2 or 3 times, and then a month later, be right back to what they were doing before. And like, well, why aren't you, well, what do you think about this? I think you should go back to doing what I said you should do. And it's like, well, I did that. No, but you need to keep doing it. Well, I'm not very good at drawing guys in construction and drawing their chins, I'm like, but exactly, you don't get to draw what you're good at. You don't understand? Like, nobody hands you a script and says, hey, I wrote a script based on all the things you like to draw. you know? They just write a script and you gotta fucking draw it. And you gotta draw it now and you can't fucking freak out, you know? And in order to be confident enough to do that, you have to have a basis. And that technically, an art college or a studio that you go to would provide you with this. They would look at your portfolio, not how good you are, oh my God, this guy's gonna make us money. They look at it to say, I understand what this guy already knows, you know? And I know that he has enough, or he or she has enough to understand what we are going to retrain them to do, you know, without explaining this obvious shit. That's what a portfolio review is really for when you go to like a college. And so then you go there, and then it's like basic training where they kind of tear you down and build you back up. But if you don't understand these basic things, like, well, when someone says, well, Rob, I can't sit there for an hour drawing. I'm like, well, you're in the wrong fucking career. It's a hobby. Like, then don't do it for a living. I can't. You're gonna be sitting here for 4 fucking hours, you know? Like 12 hours, 10 hours. Sometimes if you're in an art department, you're going to be hearing salespeople walk. It's worse than con, you know, talking and gabbing about their fucking whatever. And artists are a bunch of babies. I mean, this is shit I've heard, you know, while you're trying to make them art. Like, I'm a baby, you know, like I'm a 35-year-old man who served fucking 4 years in the army, you know, fucking mother, you know, you know, and I draw every night while you fuckers are watching The Bachelor, you fucking assholes, you know. So my frustration comes from the fact that at some point, you know, if you want to do this for a living and you haven't been able to get to the point where you say, you know what, I know I'm not there. Here's what I can do to do it. Then there you go. Sometimes a friend needs to say, hey, here's where I believe you're at. And if I was handed your portfolio, I would just say, you know, great, we'll call you, not call you, whatever. Keep doing it. Good. You know what I mean? Like, because no one at a con wants to have that confrontational thing with someone they don't know. Right. I've been handed portfolios many times where I'm like, hey, it looks great. You know? Other times they get handed portfolios, and I'm like, Tom, check out Natalie Sanders. This chick is dope. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I actually happened. Although I had to go tell her husband to go bring her back because he was repping her portfolio. I'm like, I'm not going to look at a portfolio for your wife. You can come. She can come. I'm sure she's good. You know? So, yeah, you know, whatever. But that being said, Brandon, you should also remember too, as in my own position, I as recently as a year ago, been yelled at for 8 hours how I'm a fucking child and we all suck and we should just be lucky we have a job. Fuck you all, you're uncreative. Now go make us stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like whatever I told you out of sincerity to like, I need you to understand where you're legitimately at. Here's what you can do within the next year to 2 years to get out of that. What is your goal? I will give you the shorthand. All you have to do is trust that if you wax the fucking car and sand the deck, you will come out and win the karate tournament, you know? But I can't do the work for you, right?
Right.
So you have to do it.
Next topic.
Next topic. Before we Kevin Smith this into an hour-long topic.
Right.
Brandon, you pick something?
Well, I guess you kind of covered setting artistic goals realistic and not far-fetched with assessing where you're at and then setting a future goal. Like me, I would like to see my stuff on maybe future Top Cow, Aspen, Zenescope covered, you know, Big Dog in a year or so. I mean, you kind of covered it with what we got to do to get our portfolios there.
Now, is that a far-fetched goal? Some people would ask, right?
Right.
What do you do when you feel your goal's too impossible to achieve? You go on with it anyway, and I learned this from game development. They have these things called sprints, right? In art, I was sort of taught, like, we will schedule, this week we will draw the cover and issue pages 1 through 5, right? You go, you draw it, you know, you run behind, you fucking sleep, you yell at yourself, you stay up all night, you get the work done. In development, I've learned a different process, which is that you plan to work on something for a set amount of time with the set goal. You see as far as you can get, you know, and then you stop and you assess if moving any further with that goal is worth the time or if it's good enough or you abandon. You see what I mean?
Right.
And I find that to be an incredibly productive way to run my life. like if you guys see me posting little mini sketches of landscapes or mini sketches of construction or mini sketches or something, and then all of a sudden, like 2 months later, it's appearing in my prints. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
because I found somewhere where I want to work on. I give myself a set amount of time to do it. I do it in the smallest way possible and then figure out what I learned from it see if I want to continue to move forward or integrate it into my stuff or abandon it.
So we're going to be seeing a lot within the year, right? Since you're
That's how I can do a lot. Yeah, that's the only way, Andy. Otherwise, I'd spend forever trying to make everything absolutely perfect, right?
right.
Which can't happen. Or producing a lot of shit. You know what I mean? And that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
Like hoping it gets better. So if you have a year you want to draw, like if you want to just forget working for Top Gun, you just want to be able to produce something at that level. You know what I mean? Then you say, okay, well then this month to this month, for this month I need at least core construction. So I need to every day work on core construction for 30 days and see if that's something I progress to month 2 or if I move it forward to step 2. You see what I mean?
Right.
And then if you say you're like, hey, I'm ready for step 2. I'm going to start to do this beyond construction. I'm going to start to apply noses and mouths or I'll take photos and try to break them down into different poses. You may find that you fail completely and you have to go back to phase 1. You know what I mean? And then allow yourself, because you have to allow your mind the chance to grow in the way that is best for you, not the way that the internet or the art books say step 1, step 2, step 5,
Right.
So that's just a real easy way of managing your time to achieving those goals. And then you keep working. The goal doesn't stop. You're just giving yourself a time in which you're pushing towards a set objective. So that's why I always found it ridiculous that like the Art Institute where they'd be like, this course you're going to learn perspective in 11 weeks. I'm like,
Right.
I wish, guys, like, I mean, you can explain this all you want. People will be here for 11 years and not get it, like, but we taught it to you. You should have known, we'll take your money,
Yeah. Here's a $90,000 check.
Yeah, we taught
Bill.
you. It was right there.
You know.
I always feel I'm hearing Jackie Childs from Seinfeld, we taught you. You learned the perspective, right? You drew the lines. Andy, your turn.
Let's do starting your own Kickstarter for comics and games. I was thinking about this the other day because I do, my own book, as you've mentioned, and people know now, Elvatron Chronicles. I'm also wanting to expand that. When you say, what do I see in the future? I was told when I first started that it's, from one of the comic guys, it's not going to go anywhere. And I'm almost doing it to prove them wrong. And, just with connections, I thought, why not make an episodic game, for like the Wii U or the 3DS or the PlayStation Network, so on, whatever. So I was going through different both comics and game Kickstarters to see what their stretch goals were, and like I don't know for someone who does their own Kickstarter and for someone who pays attention to a lot of Kickstarters, what would make you follow a Kickstarter? Like, is it the goals?
Well, okay, this is very. It always comes down to one, confidence in the project, right? First, you want to be interested in a project. Then you want the confidence that whatever they're pitching will get made.
Right.
Correct. And then, you look to see, if it fits your wallet size. So I've backed 30, 40 projects between comics and games exclusively, mostly, and art, With games and comics, it's two different things. First off, with a game, I would look to someone who can actually has made something, at least made a game before.
Right.
If someone's never made a game, I would never even entertain $1, There's only one. No, even this one girl who's making this game called Sea Lark, she's made game demos.
Okay.
What's his face? He's a pixel artist at Way Forward. He made The Legend of Princess and Iconoclasts, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Walking. Anyway, Cognac. He's made game demos. So if he went right now and put Iconoclast or something, I want to make a game like Iconoclast, or I want to do Iconoclast, whatever, I'd back it in a heartbeat.
Right.
So if you've never made a game, so I would say if you're interested in making a game, at least sit down to work out a demo on something.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not. It's not gonna be me personally.
Well, no, you'll need a team, but you see what I mean. Whatever your team
Right.
does, you're gonna want a proof of concept before you go.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, because I know a couple people who are doing it for like a school. They're doing it for like teaching purposes, and they're wanting to get into the game development industry. So, and I'm kind of trying to take that and use it to my advantage to make something for me and for everybody else, I guess.
Right. So I would say at least try to get a demo put together of some kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people could download it, play it, give it a shot, see that you guys can actually do it, and see what happens. If it doesn't work out the first time, I wouldn't be discouraged because game development, everyone always says it isn't your first game, it's your sixth, eighth game. You know what I mean?
Right.
I also believe that when it comes to game development, smaller, better. Plan for PC if you're going to Kickstarter. People don't care
Yeah.
about console ports. You know
Well,
what I mean?
I was kind of do the way Mighty Number 9 did it. Or you can do PC, but here's a stretch goal. Oh, we made it. Here's a 3DS code.
Right. Have you
Something
ever?
small.
So if you have guys that know how to get the licensing, to apply for licensing for different platforms and stuff, that's one thing, you know? If you've
Right.
never done it before, I wouldn't even bother. I would just say for PC, you know? You
Right.
could always say, hey, once we got this down, we could spend all our resources figuring that other shit out.
Well,
You know?
yeah, and I think Nintendo's actually making it easier too for like that because Unity,
Right.
that's the whole like HTML and stuff like that. So that makes it a lot easier for PC games. But
But I always
Yeah.
find that as artists, we always get enamored with the end result. You know what I
right,
mean? Like the end result, we all get excited, right? It's almost like a girl where you meet her and you're like, oh man, this is the fucking bomb. And then you go through like the stages of, well, what's it actually like to live with this person? You know,
right.
so
Man,
how long
I
is it?
hate the way she sleeps.
Right, or it's all sorts of weird stuff. So you don't know what the project will be like every day to wake up to it, you know? So before you invite 200 of your closest, newest friends to come along on the process, see if it's something that you enjoy doing for your own benefit, you know?
No, yeah, right. Well, I think I will. I mean, like you and even Brandon, when we play games, I enjoy the end result. I already know what that is. You know what I mean? And I think it's the process of making it that'll
Right,
be
and I
really
totally, dude, you want to make a game, man. I believe, money wise, if done right, um, you four guys could become millionaires. You know what I mean?
right.
With tech, you could also become like, Exploding Rabbit, where you're spending 2 years not making a game properly and driving the whole internet nuts. So, like,
Well, I
uh,
mean, I guess that kind of goes with the question. Like, all right, you're interested in the Kickstarter. You're interested in what the game would be about. What else would like? I guess I'm trying to figure out like what the goals are like for donations and what would there be stretch goals and because I know that
okay,
there's
I'll
different ones
briefly,
for different
I'll
things.
briefly
But
give you my ideas on this and take them or leave them. Right? Is that in terms of like you want a digital download, if you want to have physical copies, you need to have a pipeline already in place for producing physical stuff, right? Already
right,
have that set up so you know what you're going to do. In terms of stretch goals, I would always, I would honestly, for my first one out, I would apply, how do I say this? Very little to nothing. Okay, like maybe in-game like shout outs to
content.
people or something,
Okay.
because right now, people understand that video game Kickstarters have a high failure rate
Right.
because of over.
Take the money and run type deal.
Yeah,
If
so if
that's
you
the
like,
case.
if you basically want Kickstarter to pay you to learn how to make a full game, like you say you've made the demo, you want to learn how to make the game, right? You want Kickstarter to be a part of it, so you build an audience and they come along with the process. Then just whatever you get, you know what I mean, is there for you guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't worry so much about ramping up all the other stuff to collect as much as humanly possible. It's just going to add more unnecessary pressure. I didn't add a bunch of extra at Game Cave. If I hit 10 grand, you're going to get 50 fucking more pages and then the history of Nintendo. You see what I mean? Like,
Right.
because it's a physical book. It's not like art I'm drawing. It's an actual project. I have a very clear goal. I have a point in which I'm happy to hit, you know? And then anything beyond that is really just the ability to work comfortably and to get the job done, you know? And I think they understand that at this point, Andy. People respect it more than you're gonna get 3 or 4 people who say, "But I would back if you had more of this." I guarantee you, nah. Like those are. You got to be
Yeah.
very careful about listening to the 2%.
Yeah.
You know?
I've learned that as well as seeing that.
Yeah.
I'll buy that shirt if you make it. Shirts are made. Nobody's buying it.
But if you put down $5,000 to make your game, right? Make a $5,000 game, dude. You
Right.
understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh,
Don't.
yeah. I'm not gonna. Well, that's the one thing I would be, for lack of a better term, Nazi about. It's like the money that comes in is money for that game, not money for me to go out and go
Right,
clubbing.
or your goals for the game are based around the reality of a $5,000 game. Like
Right.
if you watch the team, I would watch the Massive Chalice videos. Like, look, guys, we got $1 million. We have limited classes, limited this, that, but within that, here's the fun of the gameplay. Here's what we're doing, you know?
Yeah.
It's not about what you're not doing or what would be cool if. Here's what we're actually doing. And that's a real responsible way to build $1 million game with 7 class, 5 good, 5
Master
bad.
what you want to put in there.
Yeah. As opposed to
spreading it
saying,
out.
I watched Exploding Rabbit, like, dude, they got 50 grand, and they kept saying we're gonna have 12 characters, and I'm like, there's no way, dude. Like, it's just not enough money. Like, if you had one really or two really good characters,
Right.
you could probably do that. One really good character, you could do that, Not 12. It's just too much work. All the animation sets, the sounds, the level designs. So, yeah.
Sweet.
But I recommend everyone to give yourself the ability to do it. Like, I know I could pitch a game magazine because I've made 7 of them, bro. You know what I mean? Like, granted, I didn't write an original universe to go with it, which honestly, all that shit has been easy. It's done. It's the drawing 50 fucking prints. I didn't think I'd be doing full color. Like, I was looking at it today with power prints. I'm like, wow, I started off with heads of Metal Gear, and now I have fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex Mario running around with fucking, full lighting, like Spider-Man with the full city illustration, like, okay, Rob, that's when I play the Pacific Rim theme, I'm like, da-da-da-da. Like, all right, they understand. But what I've done with Game Cave 2 is instead of 50, there's going to be 15 slots. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's built into my pagination moving forward. So,
and you knew what you were capable of and what you could achieve before you did it. It wasn't like you backed yourself into a corner. You planned ahead for it.
Yeah, I realized that I want to have a certain level of artwork that takes longer. So next time, I also want to get 3 issues out a year. So to do that, I need to scale down the amount of art, So that's a production thing. But Kickstarter is really understanding, Andy, as opposed to you pitching a game to local indie guy, venture capitalist. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Kickstarter's like, as long as it's good, you're keeping us in shape, we can see consistent progress. You're doing Twitch videos of you guys playing the demo so they can see shit. Don't be like, I don't want to show you because of spoilers. If they don't want to know spoilers, they won't watch the video.
Yeah, that's true.
But they want confidence in you, and transparency is where confidence helps,
Right.
So, cool. Did that answer?
That answered it.
Perfect. Brandon, you want to talk X-Men?
Sure.
Let's talk X-Men trailer.
I am semi-excited for the new X-Men movie.
Why semi?
Semi-excited because for some reason, each trailer has had the same tone, the same foreshadowing, gloomy look to it. And I want to be more excited about the action. And this movie, for some reason, makes me feel sad when I watch the trailer.
It's supposed to be, I think. We had this discussion, I think, a little bit a couple of days ago. But I think if you go gloomy and, all that on the first trailer and then turn around and completely do the opposite with just bright action, whatever, you're going to throw the audience off. They're not going to know. Well, I guess you're going to know what to expect, but I guess you're changing the tone so it changes the movie in the viewer's eyes. That's what I believe.
Bryan Singer likes melodrama, guys.
Yes.
And he brought melodrama to X-Men, There's some fun jokes here and there, which I find somewhat annoying, actually, even though I like jokes in my movie. I like Iron Man and Captain America, but I don't like the Backstreet Boys and Cyclops,
How much you want to bet that Wolverine flips someone off with a claw in this movie?
We can all blame Tim Rothman. I told you how that worked out. It all comes back to Tim Rothman and fucking Dick. And so X-Men, you're just going to get more melodrama. I mean, that doesn't bother me, I guess. I think, look, it's Bryan Singer. I'll give him a shot anytime he makes a movie, I didn't care for Jack and the fucking Beanstalk, whatever. Just a giant killer, whatever. Valkyrie, I didn't mind they spoke English, but it was okay. I'd say it's a solid 7.5 movie. Superman Returns, I came out there going, hey, that's a pretty good start, and then now I don't even like watching it. It's a very depressing sort of it reminds me when I came back from the army, and all my friends had moved on, and they're like, you left 5 years ago, and we hate you, and we have a life, and it's like the first 90 days of being back from the army is what Superman Returns feels like, so. And then there's Lex Luthor sleeping with an old woman, so I don't know. I just think that movie bothers me on a geek level because it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, if he left for Krypton and came back, it would have been a 10-year trip, right? It takes 5 years to get to Krypton, if I remember the first movie correctly.
Right.
So didn't they watch the fucking movie? Like, why did he leave and come back and he looks younger than he did when he left? I don't know. So, whatever. But I don't know, guys. I mean, I think my problem with the X-Men films is I'm just not interested in what Fox is doing with these superhero properties. I don't think they're bad. They're just not nonplussed for me right now. First Class was better because I like Matthew Vaughn. I think I told Brandon the other day, like Matthew Vaughn for me is almost like the image equivalent of Joss Whedon. Like if Joss Whedon is Marvel, like Matthew Vaughn's like, McFarlane in a way, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
a little bit more snazzier, but he definitely gets the comic book vibe. I love that first Kick-Ass movie a lot.
Right.
And Stardust I like. So, and First Class I thought was really good. I mean, you could have took the storyline from First Class and made 2 movies out of it, in my opinion.
Right. He kept it realistic with still adding that geeky, nerdy feel to it.
Yeah,
Like,
it was comic booky. And I felt excitement. Like when they were building, I didn't think I'd care about Magneto and Professor Xavier building the team, but when they were, I felt excited, right? It felt pretty cool. Like
Right.
with Banshee and shit, like this is actually working in the mod suits. So now, guys, I don't know. I mean, we'll all be there. We'll see it. The trailer wasn't bad. It's just more, it's like the Noah trailer. Like, I got to see the movie. I don't know. This trailer isn't,
Noah actually looks interesting.
But you can't put Aronofsky in a trailer. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, the wrestler, no trailer can show you that movie, or Black Swan, or The Fountain, or Pi, or Requiem for a Dream in the trailer, his movies.
Yeah, to get it, you have to know it from start to end.
Yeah, I feel that way about this too. Like, we're just going to have to see if the movie... I've said it, right, Brandon? How many times did I say they need to make Days of Future Past?
Tons of times.
And now they're making I was like, they got to make the Terminator storyline. The fucking future, let's do it. The future is not set,
Right.
So I want them to succeed more than ever, I just don't know. I still don't like the casting of Storm, like I just...
You know what happens to a frog in a storm?
Yeah.
I think it's better than Rogue, though. I have always hated Rogue in the X-Men movies.
This was an excellent opportunity to recast all those roles. You know what I mean? Like,
right. If it's alternate worlds, why not? Why not just mix it up?
Yeah, let's just move on. I'm with you. I like Anna Paquin. Like, you ever seen Hurly Burly?
No.
Yeah, that's a crazy movie to watch. That's what it's like to be in Hollywood. She's a good actress. I mean, she was also in fucking that one TV show recently, a vampire thingy.
Oh, yeah.
She's
I'm not knocking her. I don't think she was.
Is it the gap? Is it the gap tooth?
No, that doesn't bother me.
No, it's just I get what you're saying. Like
some people just don't.
She's boring. She's boring.
Yeah, I'm not like when I watched like Zoe Saldana made Avatar work. You know what I mean? Like she really like if she okay, like Elijah Wood made Lord of the Rings work. Like that works. You replace Anna Paquin with anybody. You know what I mean? I mean, Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique did a better job than Anna Paquin as Rogue.
Right.
Even Rebecca Romaine did a better job in that movie. It was people like you that made me. I felt that line. She had like one line, but I felt it. So I don't think you can tell if there's gonna be a. It's like I don't really care to see Spider-Man 2 because I've seen what they did with the first movie, and
I'm losing interest in that one just because they're. I don't know. It's like the only thing I really want to see in it, to be honest, is Gwen Stacy's death. That's it. Like she has to die, and I understand why Green Goblin is in there, but you took away the Rhino. I was excited to see the Rhino, even if he was wearing that suit. Rhino and Electro, I think I was excited because you don't normally see them on the screen. It's always going to be Venom or it's always going to be Green Goblin. So, I was pretty pumped for it. And then 4 minutes of screen time for Rhino just made me lose interest in it a little bit.
I believe the problem with the Spider-Man movies are Avi Arad, or Avi Arad, however you pronounce his name, the producer. He produced the original trilogy, he produced this. He's the one that pushed Raimi to put Venom in the movie. I love Venom, but if the guy don't want to make Venom in a movie, then don't make him make it in the movie,
Right.
Like, it's not going to work. And now that Venom's getting his own movie and the Sinister Six, I mean, this is Avi Arad all over again.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk, or unless there was just like maybe fan talk, but Like they were talking about maybe putting Carnage in a movie, and that's a horrible idea. You guys aren't going to make Carnage the way he's supposed to be made. You're trying to sell it to kids. You're not going to have some red Venom
Serial
running around.
killer.
He won't even
murdering
be
everybody.
Dexter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it'll be like he won't be as violent as the Penguin in Batman Returns. Guaranteed.
Right.
Like they're not gonna have him bite a man's nose off.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
that's too that's too bad now. Times are changing. Let's get soft.
I mean, remember Batman 1 when Batman's mowing down? I never understood why Batman couldn't use guns. Like I'm like, I don't know. I want to get into this. This is just I'm sidetracking. But
Okay.
the violence in that movie, I'm like, Batman doesn't kill. Then he's just blowing people up and shit. I'm
He
like,
straps a bomb to him, flips him over into a chimney or whatever he does.
yeah.
He sends his Batmobile in and blows up a whole thing. You don't know who's in
We
there.
all loved it. We're like, yes, blow this shit up, Batman. That's how you fucking do it. You just remember he drops a bomb right under that guy's nards. And the cool Elfman music, like, now it'd be like Batman doesn't do. Captain America wouldn't use a gun. I'm like, he's a soldier. Fucking murder drop him.
Batman can't even walk anymore. He's not gonna throw someone off a building.
I know. Did any other movie stuff come out this week? Oh well, we're on the cusp of Turtles. I was praying that
Tomorrow.
trailer would leak before we recorded. I can't record tomorrow night because of stuff
Oh,
that's going on.
the trailer's coming out tomorrow. I didn't even know about
Tomorrow.
that. Holy
tomorrow.
crap.
So
They posted 2 images. One, Michelangelo getting tossed into a truck, and
I don't know what that image was of, dude.
It's got his feet up in the air. It's got the 2 toes, and they're green.
Yeah,
And
but
then-
it looked like a UFO sighting. Like I see a turtle kind of in there. Like
It's like taken with a low res camera. You don't know what's going on.
oh, let's
Yeah,
talk
that's-
really quick about the Age of Ultron pics. Did you see any of that stuff, Andy?
No. Actually, no. I only saw the 2 characters, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. That was it.
Well, I'm not gonna get into like spoilers and shit, but I'm gonna say this: production set photos never help anybody. I mean, this is going back to like X-Men when they would just say, "Here's the Toad in his costume posing," and people will go, "That's retarded." Then in the movie, you're like, "Oh, okay, it's not so bad." Even the
Yeah.
Dark Knight, remember the Joker with Heath Ledger with that weird haircut, and then like he's riding on a skateboard on set, and the endless internet jokes that go on.
Yeah.
So now we got like the Olsen chick, like she's like doing the fake pose with the
The fingers, the hands, and the...
yeah, and then like Hawkeye's pretending to shoot arrows, and you just like it's like all the wrong poses. Like
Right.
I think that's why I don't like to look at those things anymore. It's just because you see people with signs saying "No photos, please." It's
I like the making of after the movie. I don't really much unless it's like the only time I like to see stuff occur on set like that is when they have footage. Remember when Batman Begins was being filmed in Chicago? There was footage that got on the internet of the cop sequence where they're chasing the tumbler.
Right.
And so it's like guys out their window and there's a Batmobile being chased by the police officers. And I was like, yeah, Batman! Like that's awesome! The cops are after fucking, there he is! Like
It looked real. Like just people would stick their heads out.
there's Batman, just the cops, and there's the scene of it is when he's looking at the TV and Alfred's looking at it and he goes, "What do you call that? Damn good television." That's what the scene they were filming, and I just remember looking at it like that's damn good television. I can watch that every time. But yeah, him like making that weird fighting pose where he looks like a rock star in The Rises, and then the internet gets a hold of it, and now
Right.
they Photoshop microphones. They don't help. It don't help any,
Yeah.
But Quicksilver already looks infinitely better than the X-Men version, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I will give free art to anyone who comes up to me at a con dressed like the Days of Future Past Quicksilver. If you have the balls to have that Walkman,
Has to be a dude. Only
Yeah, you
chicks,
have to be a-
chicks
has to be
don't
a
count.
guy.
They could pull that off.
you have to have the whole street punk listening to music look. I don't know how the headphones will stay on, but that whole look, if you have that, you're getting free art if you pull it off, because I don't think anyone will ever cosplay that ever.
I told Brandon it looked like remember the original incarnations of the Cybermen from like Doctor Who back in the 60s and shit, like where they're just wearing tinfoil and they got a box strapped to their waist. There was a really good it's kind of a documentary, not really. It's like a Mad Men one-off kind of thing they made for Doctor Who, if you watch Doctor Who, called The Adventures in Space and Time. They did for the anniversary this year. And it shows how the show was made. Brian Cox is in it, the guy who played William Stryker, in X-Men 2. And a lot of really good actors. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, Adventures in Space and Time, you can get that on the internet. That's fantastic, actually. But they do have the guys sitting there in the Cyberman thing, and I'm like, hey, it's Quicksilver. It's fucking stupid. You guys have anything else? Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
Real quick, I know you wouldn't do it, but I think it would be funny if we took pictures of all three of us standing there trying to make an action pose, and then you Photoshop it into some scenery. That would make me laugh. I know it would make you laugh, and I know you wouldn't do it.
You love to Photoshop people into things. Right?
I do. It's my favorite.
And you just learned what a mask is in Photoshop. That's what amazes me. Like.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, you didn't know what a mask was, and yet you do it all the time.
No, I knew what it was. I knew how to mask. I didn't know how to do the stamp tool.
And you didn't know the clone tool.
I've never used the clone, ever. And then you tell me that, and I'm like, this will make my graphic design job a lot easier.
Yeah, where you have to repeat background elements.
Right. And I've been doing it all, just painting it in painstakingly for hours. And then you're like, yeah, why don't you just use a stamp tool? I'm like, oh, fuck. Fuck me so hard, damn it.
Hey, last thing really quick. Any of you guys watch Rick and Morty?
I love that show.
Yes, it is the greatest cartoon made since South Park. And Zim, right? Like it's
so good. So weird.
I just watched, I'm all caught up, and I just want to say, the episode where they watch endless TV from other dimensions.
I just watched that one. That one was hilarious.
The Lucky Charms?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for people, and I know I'm speaking in riddles, but if you haven't seen the Rick and Morty cartoon fucking show, it's just genius,
I've only seen a couple episodes, and that was at your place, but I liked it.
Brandon, it gets better.
As soon as it goes on Netflix, I'm watching it.
I like because it also has a story, like it's not just random jokes.
Right.
It's like that. It reminds me of what Simpsons in a way used to be back in the day when they had a story for each episode. But this goes way further. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I also hear there's a game on their main site you can play, like an adventure game.
Oh, yeah. I keep seeing the commercials. I haven't actually tried it out, though.
Bacon just told me it was great, so I'm going to go play it and see if that's true or not. So, all right. So we'll be back in 2, maybe 3. I'm going on vacation from the 1st to the 4th, so probably a little bit after that. But Brandon, where can everyone find you on the internet?
leadheavy.com. You can find me on Instagram at leadheavy, Twitter leadheavy, and Facebook Brandon James Art.
And Andy, free plug.
Yeah, you got Twitter and Instagram. Find me at Elvatron, ELVATRON. And you can find me on Facebook. The name is Bon, Andy Bon. That's BOHN.
Sweet. As always, you can find me at Skechcraft. Sketch, the name of the podcast, CRAFT.com. And iTunes, all that good stuff, Instagrams. Kickstarter, PowerPrints 3 for 14 days. All right, folks. See you in 14 days. Bye. Skechcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience and supported by listeners like you. Please be sure to leave a review on iTunes, like and share our Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All links can be found at Skechcraft.com. That's Skechcraft, C-R-A-F-T, the name of the podcast, .com. Remember, every little bit counts and it all helps to grow the show. Thanks.